I'd like to welcome everybody to HBCU Coaches Corner. I am the co-host, Rocky Miller, along with my trusty sidekick, the Rattler himself, the Bishop, the Detective, and the Rattler, none other than Stephen Campbell. Thank you for joining me, Steve. Coach had a conflict, but we're committed to doing this show tonight, so we're going to carry on without him. Hopefully he is able to come on with us and carry out this conversation, hopefully soon, because we got a few things we want to cover. We definitely want to talk about Shedeur. There's a lot of other conversations going on about what programs are blue bloods or what programs are first tier, second tier. Started a lot of dialogue, but one thing, Steve, before we get started, let me ask you, Steve, how you doing, brother?
Man, listen, I'm doing great. We are less than, what is this? Well, probably, I guess we play on the 6th. Is that right? No, we're not the 6th, the 29th, 30th of this month. Bottom line is we're close.
Swipe Me Act Challenge is on the 23rd, Steve.
23rd.
So we're less than 20 days out, man.
I will be there to see what Perry's Southern Jaguars are going to do. And Johnny Thornton and him, we're not worried that we're blue blood Eagles, gave me that call. So, man, I'm excited, man. I am super, super excited, man, because, hey, man, this is our time, man. This is our time. This is what brings us all together. And, man, this is a new era. Like I say, Deion is over to Colorado. So now all of y'all primates, y'all here. Y'all still here. So, man, that is great, man. So, listen, man, like I said, we got our folks walking in, like I say, Jay and Tony Matthews and Willa Keener, Stuttering Newt, always got that sign up. So, man, listen, we here, man. So, we appreciate y'all being here, man. We want y'all to enjoy the conversation, and we want you guys to be a part of the conversation. Because the one thing I will say about HBCU folks, they got an opinion about Shedeur. I tell you that right now. And they got an opinion about who's a blue blood.
The crazy thing is, as I've been tracking this Shedeur story since he was drafted, it almost has seemed like the HBCU people are really just observing, letting the Colorado and the Browns fans kind of hash these things out. And that surprised me kind of, Steve. The HBCU fans has been observing. They've been, part of the, I guess, group of people that's been tracking, because I see the names on the streams. I recognize the people on the streams, but they really haven't had a lot to say. And I just ask you, Steve, is Shedeur considered an HBCU quarterback?
Well, absolutely. But I'm going to tell you what I think is more so. I think everybody in the HBCU space has seen this playbook before. Being disrespected, not showing the grace, not giving a chance, but knowing that we just got to put our head down and just keep making a day. So I think for us, we've seen this playbook. For people in the Power Fives, they come with a certain level of arrogance, and this is where it should be. But every one of our players that have come from where we're at, they know they had to work hard. So for us, we see a lot of Shedeur in the things we do in our everyday life, of how we have to battle to be great. So I think for us, we just kind of sit back. Now, trust me, we're going to make some noise when we see something wrong. But like I've always told people, it's up to this, man. He going to be fine. Because when them preseason games play and Dylan Gabriel is throwing balls in the back of his head and Shedeur is dropping dimes, you ain't going to be able to hide it. And I'm going to keep saying this. Money talks. And they not crazy. There's a reason why he's starting that game, too. I don't, even if all those quarterbacks were, he was going to start that game.
It's funny to me that with the limited playing time, with the limit of first team snaps he's received, he's received the least amount of reps in the entire fall camp. Yet on Friday, he's named the starter of the preseason game. And I have to ask this, Steve, with knowing that situation, how did the Browns, I really would like to sit down and talk to Coach Stefanski along with the GM and see how did they come to this decision to start Shedeur on the very first game of the preseason when it seemed like that's not what they were preparing to do according to how the practices were going.
Well, see, and I think Coach Stefanski, he said this. He said, you guys are reading it too much, who's first team, second team, third. He actually said that from the very get-go. And I think Coach Stefanski, out of everybody, has played this the correct way. He's never said anything negative. He said this is what guys are going to do. He said don't look too much into it. And I'm gonna say this again. For my conspiracy theory, folks, you doggone right they want Shedeur to play and start, because guess what? That preseason game is gonna get record ratings. I thought the game was at Cleveland, but it's at the Panthers. So no matter what, think about all those people, because hey, Jax St got a big crew of folks up there in Charlotte. They're gonna be in the house. You're gonna have people that's gonna call them all over that know Shedeur. So they're gonna pack that place. So I think honestly, Coach Stefanski has been the one that say, hey, we're just letting it play out.
You know, Steve, being somebody that has been part of negotiations and player acquisitions and things of that nature, there's often been said that football is political. And I think when they say football is political, or NFL is political, what they stay short of saying is that it's rigged. You understand what I mean? They don't. So in your estimation, what was the entire conversation around who's getting reps, who's not getting reps, who's playing? What were the people in Cleveland so upset or confused about? Because it became a whole thing the last 2 weeks about quarterback tracking reps, tracking completion. I've never seen anything like this in my entire time in football. And so I guess, Steve, is there some type of built-in mistrust by the fan base in Cleveland, or is it football as a whole that has some type of concern that the fix may be in?
Well, here's the thing. You said something interesting, but this is again through the lens. Now, if you watch the First Takes, the Get Ups, the FS1s, and all those different shows, you know what the white guy will say? Football's the ultimate meritocracy. The best player is going to play. Now, I've heard that. I've heard that way more than what you said, that the best player is going to play. So if I trust the white man, which I do not, but take him at this is going to prove to be true. The best player is going to play. And I think what has happened is when you're looking at Cleveland, and people got to understand, and Rocky, you and I are old enough to remember this, going back to when the Steelers were the power in that division, and they had Brian Sipe and those guys, you know what I mean, and stuff, the old Cleveland Browns and stuff like that. Cleveland has always hurt to have a quarterback. And when you see a guy that is that well known, Shedeur Sanders, you see what happened to Deshaun Watson, and you say, hey, this could be our guy. This is a guy we all can rally around. The fans clearly are buying into it. They're buying his jerseys. So you're saying, well, wait a minute. You're looking at a Dylan Gabriel. You know, you can say what you want to say about him. People believe that Shedeur is better than him. Kenny Pickett has already shown that, as they say, this is his third team he's going to be on. So that kind of lets you know what people think about him. And Joe Flacco's damn near 50. So, you know, so there you go. Lesteder Newt knows about that Bernie Kosar. Hey, man, those 2 times that they should have beat Denver and they didn't. Exactly. Going all the way back to that's almost literally when they had hope. So, again, when you're looking at this, I think what a lot of fans is just the excitement of Shedeur. And any little slight that they see is going to be blown up. So, I think a lot of us, which again, how many of us, I follow all the Cleveland Brown media. I'm talking about the real media, not the because YouTube people, I'm sorry. No disrespect to YouTube people, but they all have an agenda. They want clicks. But the Mary Kay Abbott's and people like that write for the Cleveland Plain Dealer, that watch that team, they've been pretty honest down the middle. They say, hey, we see this kid making the team, but we'll see what happens. So I think for a lot of people, and especially for the fans of Cleveland, everybody wants hope. And Shedeur is one of those guys, no matter what anybody says, Shedeur is the type of guy that people like. And people, again, and remember, people have known this kid since he was a baby, basically. So I think a lot of people forget that a lot of people have been invested in Shedeur since he's been a little child. So to see him grow up in front of us, he's like our son.
Steve, you said something that I want to push back on. You said the media, I'll put it like this: the corporate media, local corporate media, because I think there's a national corporate media and there's the local corporate media. The local corporate media, I'll disagree with you, Steve. I think they were trying to hold the line, keep the heat down for the organization itself. From going back to the draft to why they drafted the Shedeur in the fifth round, the local media was trying to keep the temperature down all the way across, right? They they were parroting, for the lack of a better word, exactly what the organization was saying, right? But if you notice, if you've been tracking, Steve, about the last 2 weeks to 10 days, the corporate local media is questioning a lot of the decisions that the Browns are being making as far as how they're dividing up reps. They weren't doing that at first.
Well, wait, but you gotta stand. But wait a minute. But I think people forget. Man, we only been in camp 3 weeks?
Yeah, three.
It's only been 3 weeks. That's what I'm saying. You gotta say. So listen to what you said. Let's use your timeline. People were crying about reps the very first week. You can't delineate anything for week 1. We went in week 2. Now we're in week 3. It's only been 3 weeks. So I think to your point, yeah, they were probably going to say, "Hey, let's just let this train ride down the track," because of the first week. You have people losing their mind after the first week. He did this, he did that. And Stefanski's like, "Hey, bro, it's only the first week." And I'll tell you this, and anybody, again, Cowboy fans, go look at the first week. Where do you think Dak Prescott was on a depth chart the first week? Tony Romo gets hurt all of a sudden. Where do you think Russell Wilson was on the depth chart? I could go on and on about players at the first week. Again, I could tell about, like I say, Terrence Edwards. We represent Terrence Edwards. He was low on the depth chart, on the wide receiver depth chart. They had Roddy White, Brian Finner, all these guys. He worked his way up. It takes time. And again, one thing about the NFL, you know what happened? People get hurt. You start seeing things. Opportunities happen. And this is exactly what you're seeing. You're seeing an opportunity. So this is a great thing for Shedeur. The opportunities, no matter how the opportunity is there, he get on that field and ball. And I think a lot of people have said, to the point, which I like too, it doesn't matter if he doesn't make cleans. He balls in that preseason game. Guess what? Somebody will ask for him. Somebody will trade for him.
Well, I think this is the product, and the guy I feel the worst about in this situation, Steve, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I have a considerable amount of sympathy for Dylan Gabriel in this situation, because this is generally not the situation that the third round, a quarterback drafted in the third round comes in. One, a third round quarterback who comes in is usually not projected to be the franchise quarterback or the franchise quarterback right away, let alone be in a quarterback competition with 2 established guys, NFL guys. If you draft a guy in the third round, that means you thought he was a pretty good quarterback. However, he wasn't good enough to take in the first round. You understand? He wasn't good enough to take in the second round. So third wing quarterbacks, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, usually project as backups.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, a third round quarterback. In the history of the NFL, there's very few guys like Russell Wilson who was drafted in the third round and then ended up starting game 1 of the same year he was drafted. There's not many guys in the history of the NFL that end up like that. But somehow, and I think this is the reason, because Shedeur was drafted behind him, he was all of a sudden thrust into a situation where he had to prove himself, whereas other guys who drafted as third round quarterbacks end up not having to prove himself. I ask you, why as a third round quarterback, he's put in a situation where he almost is forced to prove himself in this very small window that he's an NFL quarterback, when most guys who are quarterbacks who drafted in the third round get at least a whole season to kind of develop and progress?
Well, let's think about this. And I'm being facetious, but I'm going to be saying, Shedeur Sanders might be the most famous 5th round draft pick ever in the history of 5th round draft picks.
The only guy I would say, Bo Jackson, is the only guy that I would compare to that.
Well, Bo, I don't consider Bo a 5th round draft. He told Tampa he wasn't going. He was going to be the first pick in that draft. And he said, "I'm not coming. I'm going to play baseball because I want to play for y'all." So Bo did not drop because of talent. Bo dropped because I'm not coming. So the Raiders went ahead and drafted him. So I don't consider that the same. I'm talking about somebody that said, we looked at it, we evaluated it, he's a 5th round pick. Shedeur Sanders is the most known 5th round pick ever. So I think you don't have that. And I think this was part of a little bit, and I will say this, because I saw something, and this is where, you remember one of the outside noise that people said, well, if you draft Shedeur, it's going to come with a lot of noise, right? Well, I actually saw that bubble up just a little bit. Because if you remember, and I think I sent this to you guys, you remember there was a quote by the owner, right? Well, what does his big brother do? Bucky makes this video that was really inflammatory towards the owner. Now, mind you, this is your brother's boss. So I'm sitting up here like, man, you really don't want to do that. Now, I know you might have your feelings, and it was really inflammatory. But guess what, though? And I went and checked because I'm talking to Scotty, and I'm talking to somebody else, and I say, I'm going to send it to you. The post wasn't up anymore. So Dion probably said, hey, man, don't do that. So you got to stand to your point. How many people do we have? People that have hundreds of thousands of followers, that have brothers that can post stuff that cause everybody to move like the ocean. So again, for Dillon Gabriel, yeah, he's in a no-win situation. But I'm going to say this. Like when anybody, and man, this goes for anything. Hey, man, if you ball, you're going to get the call. So if I'm Dillon Gabriel, again, I'm not worried about Shedeur. I can't. I got to play my game. Because that's the only way you're going to make the team anyway.
You say you now. I understand that's easier said than done, and not because Shedeur is breathing down his neck, it's because of the attention that Shedeur is gonna get, and the only way that he can get some of the heat off of him is if that he completely outplays Shedeur, and that may not get the heat off of him because at this point the fan base of Cleveland. Even if Dillon Gabriel plays great, they're going to say somehow it may be orchestrated or he was set up to succeed because the Cleveland fans are skeptical of the organization. And I don't think it's necessarily the Shedeur situation that has them skeptical. It's the history of their franchise.
Yeah, well, the history says it. But the thing about it is, but here's the thing. Dillon Gabriel don't have to worry about the fans. He got to impress one person. That's the coach. And see, this is the thing about what people have to understand. And I think with social media, we put too much emphasis on the noise. The fans are noise. Social media is noise. Radio stations are noise. ESPN is noise. It doesn't matter because, and this goes for Shedeur, it does not matter what anybody says on that's writing something. The only thing that matters is you on that field producing. Because that is what's going to get you on the team. So for both of those young men, so again, I go back to for Shedeur. I'm not worried about what somebody's posting my stats. I could care less. One thing I'm worried about is when I walk out of practice, did I get better? Did the coach say, you know what? You got better today. That's what you want to hear. You got better today. I saw improvement. So you know what? You go in this game, I want to see improvement. You messed up here in practice. Make sure on the field you don't do that. So he does that. He makes the team. Because all you want to do is be on the team. So once you get on the team, everything is even. Point blank, period.
Now, for Shedeur, do you think the expectations for him are unreasonable for the Cleveland? And I'm going to say not only the Cleveland fans, but also the Colorado aunts and uncles that are all over Cleveland Browns social media. Do you think the expectations are unreasonable for Shedeur?
Well, let me ask you a question. When you say expectation, what are they expecting him to start day one, be an all-pro, throw for 4,000 yards?
I think what they're expecting is for him to prove far and away that he's better than Dillon Gabriel, because that's what they're into it for. They're not into it. The Colorado aunts and uncles are not really invested in how good Cleveland does. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay.
What they're interested in is that Shedeur proves that he's better than Dillon Gabriel and that he should have been drafted in the first round. That's their total. That's their point. Okay. And is that expectation unfair for Shedeur?
That expectation is a waste of expectation because it's over. And I will say this again. I'm gonna go Dak Prescott. You know who's the highest paid quarterback? Dak Prescott. He's a 4th round pick. So it does not matter. I think people need to get off of where he was drafted. That's over with. It's done. And all he has to do is be 1% better than Dillon Gabriel. Because that's all he needs. He doesn't need to be 20%, 50%, 100%. He just needs to be 1% better.
But see, BC, I would say I agree with you. And I agree with you for the most part, Steve. But here's what it was going on the first week of camp. When people were complaining about the reps that Shedeur wasn't getting, the corporate media kept saying, hey, guys, lay off. He's a 5th round pick. Hey, guys, lay off. He's a 5th round pick. And you know that's what they were saying. when the fans.
But the point is legitimate. He's the 5th round pick, right? So so now you know what? I actually going to reverse it. You're right. You're putting expectations on him as a 1st rounder. He's a 5th round pick. So whatever happens, like they say, most 5th round picks don't even make a team. So you're putting expectations on. Now, again, I believe Shedeur, and I think we all agree, we believe Shedeur is better than the 5th round pick. But again, it doesn't matter. Now, he's on the team. But on the flip side, no, I'm not going to treat Shedeur like he's Cam Ward. Cam Ward's the 1st pick. So it's different things that come with that. I expect Cam Ward to be different. I expect him to. But Shedeur, once again, where it's lined up, they're probably going to keep 3 quarterbacks. All you got to do is be 1 to 3. That's it. So my thing again, Shedeur has shown once again, and this is what you know what, and I like, he made a quote that I like, and I'm going to see if I can read this quote because I think I saw this. I really just pulled this up because this is one of the quotes that, go ahead. While you doing
No. This is what I want to say. I agree, but when he starts balling in camp like he has been about the last 10 days, when he starts balling in camp, you can't each and every time bring up why he's not getting equal reps at this point or quality reps that he's a 5th round pick. Because to your point, Steve, there are no picks in camp. Everybody's either trying out the team or make the team. Those are the only 2 things that you get. It's either you're on the opening day roster or you're cut. Those are the only 2 positions that guys are fighting for at this point. And if he's on the opening day roster, then he's made this camp successful. He's done what he's supposed to do. But what happens is people are concerned, and I think rightfully so. They're concerned is he getting enough of an opportunity to make the team, considering they have 2 veteran quarterbacks, somewhat, a 41-year-old man and a guy who's, like you said, who's on his 3rd team. At this point, can we honestly say that Kenny Pickett is a journeyman quarterback? You know, this is his 4th year, but it's, you know, do you get to be a journeyman quarterback in 4 years, 3 different teams? And he has a guy that's a 3rd round pick who the franchise has been very complimentary of, talking about what kind of processor he has and how quick his mind is a computer and all this different stuff. And then you have Shedeur. To be honest with you, Steve, the Browns organization has been very tight-lipped about what they truly think of Shedeur, his work ethic, how he's doing in camp. They've been critical of his speeding, his driving, but they haven't had really much to say about how he's been playing on the field.
All right. Now, you know what? I'm going to throw something at you. So hold on. Let me give me 2 seconds.
Okay. You got time.
I'm going to hit you with something.
Hey, at this time, man, I like to give everybody the opportunity. We're going to take a pause right here. Please like the stream. Go ahead and like the stream. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. I know we got a lot of people who've come in because of the Shedeur conversation. If this is the HBCU Coaches Corner, usually hosted by the swag legend himself, Johnnie Cole, our co-host. However, he's not with us tonight so far. He may jump in here at any moment. He had a conflict, but I wanted to welcome y'all to HBCU Coaches Corner, and we do this every Tuesday at 8 p.m. until I guess that would be fair to say, Steve, because we don't have a real quitting time on most Tuesdays. Hey, and just so happened that this next Thursday, that means day after tomorrow, we have a big interview scheduled with the Prairie View head coach, Tremaine Jackson, the Division II runner-up head coach who formerly coached at Valdosta State, was hired by Prairie View, and he's entering his inaugural season with the Prairie View A&M Panthers, and we're going to sit down and have a live conversation with him on Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern. So,
all right. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask people without Googling it. I'm going to ask you a 2-part question. And you probably know the first one, but I bet you don't know the second. Who was the number 1 pick for the Cleveland Browns?
This year?
Yes, this year.
Graham.
Okay.
Mason Graham.
Who was the 2nd round pick?
Only reason I know Junk is because he got arrested the other day.
Duncan was no, he was not their 2nd pick in the 2nd round.
Oh, 2nd pick in the 2nd round?
Their 2nd pick. Who was their 2nd pick? He was a 2nd rounder though.
I don't know.
Exactly. So exactly. Have you heard anything about Mason Graham, what he's doing in practice? What's the kid's name? Swayze
There's no
from
tracker.
From UCLA doing?
Yeah.
You haven't.
No.
And like you say, you're about junkie, because what did he do when he got in trouble with a girl, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're the 1st round pick. Ain't nobody said nothing about. We don't know if he's dominating. We don't know if he's killing it. All you hear about. So that's what I'm saying, man. This is why the point, which is unfair to Shedeur anyway. They're putting things on him that they ain't even talking to their 1st round pick about. Now, I'm not saying Graham is not killing it, but you don't even know. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. So this is what the thing about it is, man, let's call a spade a spade. So don't put no additional pressure on this kid that you're not putting on the 1st round pick. How's he playing? How many reps he doing? And I'm going to tell you something. You know what? One of my boys, he watches the show, right? I've got several of my friends that are coaches in the NFL, right? You know, one of my boys called me. He said, Steve, you know what? I watch these shows, man. He says it's hard for me to watch these shows. He said, there's so many people that don't know football. He said, do you realize the ones don't go against the ones in practice? We don't do that till late game situations. In the beginning of practice, it's the 1s versus the 2, and there's not no 3 and 4s. It's a rotation out of the 2s. He said, you know, the guys that are on the 2nd team, you know who they're going against? They're actually going against the 1s. So I want you to tell people that. So he said, when you guys are doing all this tracking with Shedeur, don't get it twisted. He's probably doing that against the 1s most of the times.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? This is the person that called me that said, I want these people to please be quiet. I'm coaching here. And I ain't going to say where he coaching because y'all might know who he is. So what I'm saying, it's like, he's like, man, tell these people to relax. They don't know how this thing works. It's not the 1s going against the 1s. So again, you play, you produce, you go, you build your next day. So the same thing, like I've said, they got a 1st round pick. Ain't nobody said, is he hurt? Is he not hurt? Is he dominating? Is he running? Nothing hurt anything. But then Shedeur, he's getting tracked every throw, every disc. He's this, all that. Fine. But you know what the thing I like about Shedeur? And this is what I'm saying. I'm going to read this quote because this quote says it all. He said, they asked him about, this process. And he said, listen, it does not faze me. You got to understand, we came all the way from an HBCU to a Power 5, and now we're here. At this point, you look around, that's a challenge. Nothing phases me. That lets you know, man, when you start from an HBCU, hey, man, listen, you didn't have it. He was at Jax State. He produced. They say he wasn't going to do that at Colorado, right? Some people said that. At Colorado, he produced. Now people saying he's not going to do it at the Browns. He can go 3 for 3.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. Hey, we got our phone lines open for those of you all who want to call and have this conversation. Again, we're going to continue this conversation. What I want to do at this time, I've pasted the link in the off script and on Facebook. I'm going to end the Facebook live and I'm going to end the live on off script. However, we will continue over on the Rocky Miller channel, the channel that hosts the HBCU Coaches Corner. So I'm going to give you guys time to switch over. Go ahead and switch over. I'm not going to just cut you off. And then when you start switching over, go ahead and click one, hit one so that I know you have switched over as myself and the Bishop continue the conversation about Shedeur. Again, I'm really the most surprising thing that has developed, though, Steve, is that Shedeur was named the starter today for the first preseason game. And I think you said all along, Steve, no matter what happens in practice, whether he makes the team or whether he ends up being a starting quarterback, none of it was going to be decided based on what happens in practice. He was going to have to do it under the lights in front of everybody. And surprisingly, he has an opportunity to do it. right now.
I told you guys, and I'll go back and find it. I told you guys who was going to start that preseason first. I told you guys, did I not? I told you. I said, I bet you money that Shedeur is going to start the first game. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in game 2 and 3, but I said that first preseason game, they're going to start. And they are. And this is what they've done. So, again, big spotlight. And this is the great thing about it. The Panthers are going to play their guys that they need to make the team. So he's not going to be playing, as they say, the guys that's going to be FedEx drivers. He's going to be playing against guys that have to make the team. So he's going to, quote unquote, be playing against the ones or guys that they need. You know, of course, they're not going to have some of their high-end starters playing. But again, guys that's going to out there trying to make a play. You got to, because you got to stand something. If I'm a defensive back, hey, man, I'm trying to go get one of those.
Steve, let me ask you this. Is this a business decision or a football decision?
It's both. It's business first, though. I always felt that was going to be, they were going to start for the business part. I always believe that. But the football part, I think, again, and I think Kevin Stefanski, I'm going to give him a lot of credit. I think, man, as they say, he slides a fox. I think he's been playing people wide all the time. And I think he has seen what Shedeur is doing. And he just kind of say, you know what? Because, again, if he moves Shedeur up too fast, I think that would be actually too much pressure on Shedeur. That he's named the number 2 already. No, let's keep him at the 4. Because, again, it doesn't matter who's 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. It doesn't. So you know what he does? He lets him go. And you know what? Play it at his progress. He doesn't have to worry about the pressure. He's got to be the one. He's got to start all that. Now, all of a sudden, let's start him in the game. Let's start him in this game. Now, of course, guys are hurt, things like that. I heard all that too. But I don't care. If Kenny Pickett, I still say if Kenny Pickett was healthy, Shedeur would have started that game. But of course it's gonna be for Ray. Because you know what, too? And I'm not mad at them too. Because guess what? We all gonna be watching.
Now, one thing that a guy in the Cleveland media always said, and hey, I want to thank you all you guys that switched over. I'm about to end the live on Off Script channel. Go ahead and make sure you guys switch over on the Rocky Miller channel. So here's the deal, Steve, and this is what is interesting me is that the guy by the name of Garrett Bush. Garrett Bush is a content creator, a radio personality over in Cleveland. And he said this when people were up in arms 3 weeks ago about the reps and what was happening and all this kind of stuff and everything that's coming out of Cleveland. The thing he said, you always have to remember that football is gonna football. And what he meant by that is there's a lot of things you can control about in football, but there's so much about football that is not controllable and not predictable. And this is what I think we've experienced some of it already with both Kenny Pickett and now Dylan Gabriel having to deal with injuries.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And you can only worry about what you can control. And, man, you know, again, what I think, which is the best thing, which for Shedeur, is when you have people, and man, sometimes you need a chip on your shoulder. Sometimes, every time someone needs a reset. I'm not saying that Shedeur doesn't believe in his talent, but sometimes you need somebody to challenge you.
Absolutely.
You need to say, well, you know what? I got to work for it. Because sometimes working for a goal is better than just having a goal just given to you, right? So now he goes in. He knows that he's got to be locked in. There's no margin for it. Because, see, I'm going to say this, and this is no disrespect for Deion. When has Shedeur ever been in this position where he knows that he wasn't going to start? Junior high, not junior high. It's never been a chance or time. And that's what Scott has always been his argument is that Deion never brought any quarterbacks to compete against him, right? Well, I got no problem against that. I've seen that happen with other teams that didn't bring in somebody because they didn't want competition. But now, for the first time, there's no dad. There's no incubation of this is my thing. Now he's got to do it on his own. He's got to stand on his own 2 feet. And the thing what I believe, which I give Deion credit, I think Deion has put, hey, man, you can compete against anybody. I think that Sanders' arrogance works for him. Now, he don't have to say it out loud because he's, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a different situation. He ain't watching it and all that stuff. He's keeping his head down. He's making his plays. But don't you think when he shuts that door, he said, oh, I'm going to win this. I'm going to win this. And dad ain't there to hug him and walk him down the aisle. His brother ain't there. It's him. And you know what? For this time, every man needs that in his life. So I'm happy that he has an opportunity where nobody can question if he had this because it's going to be inside of him.
So what you're saying, Steve, and I never really thought about this, the process itself kind of allowing Shedeur to move out from under his daddy's shadow and be his own man. I didn't even think about that being part of this process, because I think that's important for any man to get out from the shadow of your father, walk out on your own and create your own opportunities and become your own man. And this particular test is certainly giving him an opportunity to do so. I just honestly hope that Cleveland really understands what they have in Shedeur and they're able to utilize it. And because I honestly, after watching him for 4 years, Steve, just about every game he's ever played, I was certain that he was a top flight NFL prospect. I was certain. Because this is why, Steve. He made it look the same way at Jackson State. It looked the same way. We questioned, hey, man, it looks a little too easy at Jackson State. A freshman being that good. Then he comes in sophomore, ends up being the player of the year, comes in, goes to Colorado, struggles the first year, but then the second year kind of looks just like he did when he was at Jackson State, around what I would consider, comparatively speaking, a much less talented team. But it looked the same as it did at Jackson State from a execution standpoint, from a completion percentage standpoint. It looked the same. And so I was certain that he was an NFL prospect. A lot of people thought that the whole process of him being an NFL prospect was almost curated by his dad. How would you have pushed back on that if you were Deion, of saying that, hey, this guy was almost like created in the lab and his success was almost manufactured more so than earned?
Well, this is the thing. And I think that you want to understand this. You can say everything is manufactured, but you still have to produce on the field, right? No matter what, Jackson State, going over to Colorado, he had to still produce on the field. Those other guys on the opposite of him on the defense wanted to try to hurt him. They wanted to try to make a name off him. We saw a coach from Oregon, they doing it for clicks, we doing it for wins, blah, 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 blah. Man, he ain't said that about no other team that whole year. We understand that. But that also, to me, helps build character. So for me, I never had a problem. Listen, the only thing that I always said about this whole process, and I'll stand on this, Deion should have never been Shedeur's agent. Shedeur should have had his own, just like what Shiloh had to prove. Shedeur should have, because if he had his own agent, there would have been different conversations that would have been had. There would have been different things that would have been done. I've talked to people that are agent. I used to be an agent. I understand these things. So it would have been things that probably would have alerted him to say, hey, this is not moving in the direction. We might need to do this earlier, right? Or this is the cards we're dealt. Here's how we're going to play this hand. So no matter what, Deion incubating him, Deion putting him in this situation, no matter what, like you just said, 1, 2, 3, 4 years, he always played at an exceptional level, no matter what level it was. Because to your point, I understood the Jax State point, they were actually, based off the level, they were more talented and talented-wise versus who they played versus Colorado, where there were several teams that were more talented than them, which was very obvious and things like that. But but once again, he produced. And like I say again, did we want to be a first round? Listen, anytime somebody's associated with any of our schools, because even with the Travis Hunter thing, Travis played at Jax State 1 year. Hell, I got friends of mine. Hey, I got friends of mine that went to FAMU for 1 year and that are superstars in entertainment, but they still claim FAMU. And all our schools got people. Man, they were there for 1 year. Common, the rapper, he was only there for 2 years.
Woody the Great.
He wasn't even there for 2 years. He like, Steve, I'm going to rap. You know what I'm saying? But he still claims FAMU. So even with Travis Hunter, I have no problem for Jax State people to say, that's our guy. He started here first. The foundational bit. Deion and Shedeur, it started here first. Because that means something.
Let me ask you this, Steve, as an HBCU alumnus and somebody who loves HBCUs, when will the culture get behind Shedeur?
Well, I think they're behind him now. I think we're all behind him. I don't see anybody, because you know what's funny, and I'll say this. I think this is the mindset I've said. There were people that were upset with Deion because Deion did move out of Jackson. Deion should have moved out of Jackson the way Willie moved out of FAMU, right? He didn't. He was jumping on planes, going to Colorado. They had a championship game to play. But Shedeur and Shiloh and all those kids that left Jackson State, people had no problem with that. All those kids. And the crazy thing about it was, and I had friends of mine that had never watched HBCU football. You know, they started watching just like you, right? And then they went to Colorado. You know who the best players on the Colorado team were? Were the Jax State guys. That was a pride thing for me, just to say, even when you recruited all the guys from all over, your best player was still the Jax State guys.
This is a question for me. B. Field says, question for Rocky. Do you think the culture is not behind him? And if so, why not? So the deal is, watching the Cleveland content, you got to understand, that's what I've been watching the last 2 weeks. It doesn't seem like the culture is behind. It seems like they're behind him, but they're from an observation standpoint. They don't make any statements about Shedeur. They're watching the content. They're not even, because Steve, this is why I say it questioned me. Like, to question authority and the sincerity of the processes that black men and women have to go through to be successful, that's one of the foundational aspects of HBCU culture, right? And I don't see those people, the people that I know are HBCU people, questioning the process as much as the Browns and the Colorado people question the process. You know what I mean? And maybe
let me. I'm gonna address that. So I'm listening. Technically, you're not forced to do if you're disrespecting his father. It's a whole bunch of children I don't like their parents. So I don't know what I don't have to like your daddy to like you. Okay. So I don't know what you're talking. I don't owe anybody. So no, I can like to. I'm a grown man. I know how to separate the two. And what I said was, I didn't say I didn't like Deion. I know for most of you guys, I went to school when Deion was in school. I've met Deion 1,000,000,001 times. Rocky knows this. I said the way he left Jackson State, I did not like. I can say that. That doesn't mean I do not like Deion. So I want to be clear on that. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have to like somebody to not like somebody else. And you got people that like me that don't like FAMU. You know what I'm saying? So
and let's, as men, we cannot like the way somebody did something, but still be very fond of that individual. You know what I mean? Any of us that have kids know that we can definitely not like the way our kids have done something, but still love and appreciate our children. So I think that's the situation. Again, I think in this regard, some things, and I'll say this, Steve, some things you have to be HBCU to truly understand the level of disrespect or the level of dismissiveness that HBCUs and HBC culture experience, right? So for somebody who's not a HBCU guy, what Deion did in Jackson wasn't that offensive to me. But I think you have to be HBCU to really understand how offensive it was. You have to have been part of the history and culture to truly understand. Because just think about it like this, because I've thought about this a number of times over the years. Deion got an opportunity from HBCUs that he wouldn't have got nowhere else. No Power Five, no Group of Five. Nobody else was checking for Deion as a head coach. He was given an opportunity by Jackson State. And in some ways, after he won that SWAC championship, he treated Jackson State like a second-rate or a afterthought kind of situation. For him to not take the accomplishment that him and his players had done seriously enough to just not make it obvious that he was on his way somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. That's kind of, I think, the biggest, one of the biggest issues that people have with Deion is that in that moment, after winning the SWAC championship, that Jackson State hadn't won in what, maybe a decade?
Yeah.
You know, and they win back-to-back, and he's ready. His job is done here, and he's ready to move on with a championship game still in the balance. You understand what I'm saying? That's what a championship game.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, again, I think, see, I'm going to say this again, and this is what's wrong with a lot of y'all. Social media is not real life, y'all. I keep telling y'all, I see this on Twitter. It's about 50 of y'all that argue back and forth and say mean and crazy stuff to each other. It's the same 50 people. I can literally, if I want to put a list out, and we all know who they are, and they go back. They're at FAMU, they're at Alabama State, they're at Southern, they're at Jax State, they're blah, blah, blah. And all they do is go back. It's fake. That ain't real life. Real life is usually people that come watch this show that can understand we can have difference of opinions, but still respect and love the process. So it's the same thing. Nobody that was reading, again, I'm from Jackson. I know, I hate when people tell me how people from Jackson think. I'm from there. The point is that, and again, we're not going to get off on this because that's getting back off the topic. But the point is that when we pour something into somebody, like the people, the fans of Jackson, like you said, they gave Deion, Deion was their guy. Deion was Mississippi. And then when you feel like the way it moved, you just kind of like, I wish he would have just done it different. That's plain and simple. So we ain't going to talk about that, end of that discussion. Back to Shedeur, to that point. But my thing is, overall, I think what your initial question was, do people from the HBCU space support Shedeur? Absolutely. 100%. I want to see that young man succeed. I want to see that young man play. Because I'm going to tell you what, I'm just going to tell you from my mother, who's a Jax State person. My mother don't say Shedeur went to Colorado. My mom said Shedeur went to Jackson State. My aunts and them down there at Gulfport, they didn't watch one Colorado game. They didn't. But I tell you what, they'll say Shedeur at Jackson State. That's what we do.
I'm so, anxious to the day that we have that Monday night game and and he says Shedeur Sanders, starting quarterback, and I wonder what is he gonna say where he's from.
Well, you know what? Even if he says Colorado, just like Travis Hunter had to put Colorado on the Heisman Trophy, it's not what people think, it's what they know in their heart. Because I think when you see all these guys in their interviews, and this is what I love about all the guys, and even guys that are left, they're not the only guys that have transferred, and moved and stuff like that. Man, it is something special when you have played and understand the passion that playing in the MEAC, playing in the SWAC, playing in the SISC, the CIAA. There's because the one thing about, and this is what I will say about this. I know, them Colorado bandwagon fans and stuff like that. We ain't no bandwagon fans. We're not no bandwagon fans. So all those people, we ride with Colorado. Let's see, do you think they're going to be riding with Colorado next year like they was when they're doing Travis? No, they're not. I'm telling you they're not. Now they're going to love Deion. They ain't going to be like, let me see what Juju is doing from Georgia or the other kid that came from Liberty. So, yeah, so if he says Colorado, and no problem.
Again, I have an interesting take on Shedeur and the Sanders kids, and I'll save it for a later date. But they are really well-adjusted kids, but to be rich, privileged kids all their life, all five of them are unapologetically black. And I love that about them. Now, and people, if you don't know, I'm not trying to make this a racial issue, but when I say they're unapologetically black, what I mean is they embrace their culture, they see excellence in black people, and they just exude what we consider the culture, how they move around. They're not trying to be anything other than themselves. Wouldn't you agree, Steve?
Oh, 100%. I think, but this goes back, and I'm going to use this again. There are a lot, I got a lot of course, men watch reality shows too, but women index more watch reality shows. Do you know how many women watched that reality show with Deion? I think he had two of them.
Yeah.
That the women, again, saw Shiloh and the little girl and, Shedeur as kids, little bitty kids. And they were fans of them before they even picked up a football. Then they said, they're playing football. So you have all these women that watched them again, and from a motherly or a sister or aunt standpoint that were rooting for them. And once again, and like I say, the one thing you can say whatever you want, but the one thing about Deion, he's a great father. He loves his children. You don't see none of his children getting in no trouble. You don't see them around there doing stuff with, hey, listen, and no, look, Michael Jordan's son around there drunk driving, got illegals in his car, all that stuff. This is Michael Jordan. That boy shouldn't be doing nothing. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing, the same spotlight, but they're well adjusted. But this also goes to their mothers too. Respect to their mothers. You know what I'm saying? So Pilar, you know what I'm saying? So I think what they've done is that, hey, while you are privileged, you still have to work every day. And that's all that counts. You got to work every day, man. And that's what that's why I believe Shedeur, I think Shedeur is going to come prepared on Friday night. I think you're going to hear, because of course, you know what? I'm curious. Well, I guess it's going to be, I guess the NFL Network will probably show that game, because it's not going to be on a regular TV like a ESPN or something, because not when they do the preseason, but I'm pretty sure NFL Network's smart enough probably to show that game. So if anybody knows where that game is going to show, look it up and tell us, because I'm curious to see how that works. But my point of it, you're going to see that commentator, because usually it'll probably be the Panthers guys calling the game. That's usually how that works. But they're going to be well prepared to tell you every stat about Shedeur. Every stat. Now, Bryce Young, who they really need to play really well, is going to play in that game, almost could be an afterthought. And they need him to play well to determine if he's the guy. So let's understand this is what's great about this matchup. You've got two quarterbacks, Bryce Young, a number one pick that has not really broken through yet, had a great second half of a second season. Now they're starting to see why we drafted him instead of the kid down there in Houston from Ohio State. You see what I'm saying? He's got to come in there and play well. And you got Shedeur, who, again, as they say, moving up the depth chart, who wants to and has to play well. That's going to be an exciting first half of football, to be honest with you.
Yeah, guy. Hey, through this process, one thing I've had to accept and realize, Steve, is that Shedeur Sanders is a bona fide superstar. Whether it's based on his play on the field or his participation in those reality shows by Deion, he's a bona fide superstar. And is there a bigger story in the NFL other than where Shedeur will end up on the Cleveland Browns depth chart? Is there a bigger story? Well,
I tell you what, according to ESPN, FS1, all these YouTubers, people are clearly not. And what's funny, and I've seen this too, and again, this is not a Shedeur versus, right? This is answer your question. We had another black quarterback, the number one pick, that actually came from the FCS level, same age as Shedeur, had to go through the same hardships to move up, and he was the number one pick. You ain't heard nothing about him. Now, that's a slight to him, because once again, when we're breaking barriers, because again, I think this is the first time that we've had back-to-back black quarterbacks number one. So again, what Cam Ward achieved, that's a big milestone. But of course, again, remember, to your point, Shedeur has been a star since he was little bitty.
Yeah.
Deion Sanders is a superstar. So you're talking about all generations, all different races, football fans, non-football fans. So people are invested. And I'll tell you another thing too, because of, unfortunately, some of the angles, people feel that he's been disrespected. Even some of them believe it's racial. That brings a lot of the intensity and energy that people have when following Shedeur.
Let me ask you this here, Cam. Though they don't mention it a lot when they're telling the Shedeur story, how much does him being at a HBCU add to his folklore as a player?
Oh man, I think. Well, I'll tell you this. I think Shedeur was on his way to what, FIU or FAU, right? FAU, I think, right?
FAU, because Taggart had went from Florida State to FAU.
Do you think Shedeur would be Shedeur if he went to FAU?
No.
Probably not. Probably not. He comes to Jackson, as Mike Reed say, 60,000 strong. Tradition, history, black people, the sonic boom, the J-sets, Big games against Southern, big games against Florida A&M, the Celebration Bowl, Alcorn, all these games. You think anybody will care if FAU and FIU played? No. But I tell you one thing, he made his name when he played and did that comeback against Southern with Deion. What, Deion sick or something like that? You know what I'm saying? Man, you can't script that against one of their biggest rivals.
Deion was in a wheelchair.
In a wheelchair. You see what I'm saying? Jackson State is Southern, man. On a Saturday night, the boom, you know what I'm saying? The jukebox, 25,000 people, everybody watching. Hey, man, that's how legends are born. You can't make no legend out of FAU, man.
I tend to agree, though they don't mention it very much. A part of his identity and his story is rooted and rounded and kind of was born out of his existence and stardom at Jackson State. And the fact that he did exactly what he did at the Power 5 level, the same thing he did at Jackson State. Because a lot of times, for a lot of different reasons, they view HBCU football is a lower tier football. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Or subpar football. And the conversation, people don't realize this. The conversation is, Shedeur's not going to be able to do what he did at Jackson, at Colorado. And to be all honest with you, he did more at Colorado than he did at Jackson when you talk about just sheer numbers. You know what I mean? And so I just think that's a huge part of his story, man. And I think that's one of the things that you will never be able to take away from his story or Deion Sanders' story at this point. Is that those 2.5 years at Jackson State? I think that those were the things that legends are made of. And I'm so glad that HBCUs and myself got a chance to become part of the HBCU community by Deion coming over. Because again, had Deion not coming over, Steve, I would not be part of this community. And I will forever be grateful to Deion, Shedeur, Shiloh, the whole Sanders family for bringing me into the HBCU culture, man, because it's second to none, it's top tier, and it's not one moment have I ever regretted being in the culture, man. Not one moment.
There's two things. I want you to pull up B-Field 19, his comment, but I want to respond to what you said. You got to understand something. And this is what I tell people. When Deion rolled in that Escalade into the AAC with Tracy Edmonds, that was the first time in a long time where I said, we can already start talking about football again at this level. Because, see, I grew up when we talked about football. Hey, I saw the boom, saw the Marching 100, saw that. But it was about the football when I was growing up. Because you saw legends. You saw Jerry Rice, man. You saw Walter Payton. You saw Steve McNair.
My name is James Jr., and I won $500 on the lunch money for keeping up with the Jonas Bracket Challenge.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.